To now have to do it virtually is just an icing on the cake for nerves, stress and unexpectedness. Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. It's Canisha. If you're new around here, my name is Canisha and I create videos on business, career, lifestyle, university, all kinds of videos. So if you like the sound of that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's video. I'm talking all things to do with how to prepare for a virtual assessment centre. Now, assessment centres are one of those things that everybody dreads the most when it comes to a job application process, and to now have to do it virtually is just an icing on the cake for nerves, stress and unexpectedness. So like with going in person to an assessment centre, virtual assessment centres also require you to be prepared, and I figured why not share with you kind of the ways that I prepare for a virtual assessment centre and tips for you. So first things first, I would highly encourage you to do your research on the company beforehand. So researching the business model, the industry, competition, maybe aspects of the role itself that you can dig a bit deeper and figure out ways that you can relate it to your own experiences or qualities you possess yourself. Now, some of the information about the company during your research might actually be in blogs, they might be in YouTube content that they've produced themselves as part of the marketing, it could be in podcasts, or maybe in the news they might have been mentioned. It could be anywhere. So look at that, because that will really give you an idea about what they're currently facing, maybe some challenges or something interesting that you can talk about further during your assessment centre. So this first step is so important because you want to make sure that throughout the assessment centre, so whether you're talking to the hiring manager, the recruiter or even the head of the department, you're confident, you're prepared, and you kind of know what to say when it comes to talking about the business itself, talking about the business model, the industry, all these aspects. So I'd highly encourage that you do that first. Now for the second thing that I'd encourage you to do as part of your preparation is something that I kind of wish I'd done a lot sooner when it came to my assessment centre that I had earlier on in the week. And that is not only to confirm that you will be present, but make sure there is a meeting link for your assessment centre that has been shared with you. So it wasn't until the day before that I realised in the email exchange that I've been having with a recruiting manager is that there wasn't a meeting link. So I had to make sure that I emailed just to find out what that is. So you don't want to be on the day trying to figure out where this meeting is actually going to take place. So make sure you have this. And this actually leads me on to my third point that I want to make as part of your preparation is that make sure you have an account on whatever platform the meeting will be hosted on. So whether that is on, luckily Google Meets, I don't think you need to create an account beforehand, but places such as Zoom or Skype, if they're having on that, Blue Jeans, whatever the platform they're using to host this assessment centre, make sure you have an account for it already, or that you're not going to have troubles accessing it. The fourth thing that I'd say in part of your preparation is check your technology. So whether that is a day before or even 30 minutes before your assessment centre, just double check your microphone, double check your sound, have a look at the space that you're going to be sitting for your assessment centre. Like, is it going to have a clear background? Will you be affected by noise from maybe your friends or your family? Like, notify them not to make noise at that time, but make sure your space is something that won't be too distracting or distract yourself. So I highly recommend you check out a place in your house already ahead of time that fits for you, but also that your technology will be working in time for your assessment centre. And the other thing that I'd say as well is to make sure you have your charger nearby, so preferably plugged in and the lead is like waiting next to your laptop, because in case your battery dies from your computer, it might not look as professional if you're like having to pause and scramble to find your charger. So make sure it's nearby, and then that will save you so much stress. Now the next thing I'll say, I feel like kind of goes without saying, but make sure you are dressing appropriately for your assessment centre. Now remember, you will most likely be having your video on throughout the duration of the assessment centre, so make sure you're wearing something that is appropriate for the company. So whether that they have professional clothing, wear professional clothing. If it's more of a casual dress, wear the casual dress, but just make sure you're dressed the part So not only does it feel like you're in the real environment of an assessment centre, you also appear like, you know, you work for them already, and it's kind of like, you know, you're playing a mind trick where they can imagine you at the company already. Another key thing you should do is make sure you have breakfast before your assessment centre. So most likely, even though it's at home, it will go over multiple hours. So my personal assessment centre went from 9 AM to 12 PM, and there really wasn't any time for a break in between. So make sure you have your breakfast so you're not feeling hungry, but also you can have fluids, so whether that's coffee or water, have that with you on your desk or on the place that you're doing your assessment centre, so you can drink it, because naturally they wouldn't mind you having, you know, your fluids, but there's nothing worse than maybe having to get up or you're coughing or whatever kind of scenario could come up. You just want to make sure you've got that ready and within reach for yourself. The final thing as part of your preparation for this assessment centre is to make sure you have your notepad and pen, and within that notepad and pen, maybe dedicate a few pages with information about your research that you've done prior, so, you know, business model, competition, industry, all that kind of information you collected during your research. Have that over a page. Then have another page dedicated to the questions that you'd like to ask during the interview, so whether it's to do with finding out more about the role, the company itself, culture, whatever it is. Have your questions noted down within this notepad so you can refer to it during your interview. And another thing that I like to do within my notepad and pen that I'll have for the assessment centre is to actually just note, kind of like a brainstorm, qualities about myself. So whether it's within my experience or things that I can relate to, maybe when answering a question, that I might just be able to like look down quickly and then, you know, answer confidently to say, oh, this is an example of a time when I did XYZ, or quality of myself that maybe I might forget during the assessment centre. So highly recommend you have your notepad and pen to have your things pre-written on there, but also to take down any notes you have during maybe the assessment. So yeah, that's all the things that I'd highly recommend you do as part of your preparation for a virtual assessment centre. I think we're all in such a unique position now where we're kind of having to adapt, but at the same time, so are these companies that are also interviewing us. They're also adapting, so it wouldn't be amiss if maybe on their end they might suffer from technical difficulties, or things might not run on time, or it just feels very different to how everybody expects it to be. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, but also know that this is a chance to come in prepared and come in sharing the knowledge that you have, so that you know that you're, you know, prepared for the assessment centre. So those are the more practical things to it, but of course there are other things that you could do to work on your soft skills and to feeling more prepared for this assessment centre. But if you've got one soon, I wish you all the best. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been of help.